Hey everyone, Rob here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today I wanted to go over the difference between fiat currency and commodity currency. So I figured what better way to educate on this than to literally show you the difference. So in front of me, I have an old gold note. I have our current fiat currency, one of each denomination. I have silver, gold, and platinum just for good measure. So before I get into that, prior to 1971, the money in the United States used to be backed to a gold standard, which meant that our money was backed to silver and gold, and all of the money issued, you could then bring that paper currency to a bank and redeem it to that said metal. That is what I have here, which is an old gold note. And before I start talking more about that, the biggest difference between fiat currency and a commodity currency is that one has an intrinsic value. So what's an intrinsic value? Intrinsic value means that when you have this old gold certificate, the intrinsic value of it is that it's backed to an actual commodity of gold, such as this 10-ounce gold bar right here. So if you brought this in to a bank, you could then say, I want the intrinsic value. This note is payable to the bearer on demand, which means at any time that the bearer wants said item, you have to provide gold. That's the intrinsic value to it. And that's why these notes were created in the first place. So if you look very close, this is actually a very, very nice note if you know your old currency. But if you look right here, I think it can focus the camera. It says gold certificate. And up on top here, I'll read what it says. This certifies that there have been deposited in the Treasury of the United States of America $50 in gold coin payable to the bearer on demand. If you had $50 in a gold note, you knew that you had $50 of gold. They also made $100 gold notes. They made $20 gold notes. They made other denominations for silver as well. They even had $10,000 gold notes and even higher denominations than that. Which leads me to the question of why did we get rid of that? Why did we get rid of the higher denomination notes? Because it would be very useful in today's day and age, considering how much inflation has grown, that we would have a higher denomination than a $100 bill here. We used to, and I'll put a screenshot of one right now, but for some reason, we don't have any higher denominations anymore, which doesn't make very much sense because back in the day, we did have higher denominations and things are a lot more expensive. They take more dollars to buy items now because they've printed quite a bit of it. So in front of me, I have some silver, I have some gold, I have some platinum. Platinum just for the good measure, like I said. So when you have 10 ounces of silver, you can obviously see the difference here. This is about $200 worth of silver versus $20 worth of silver. This is just a 1-ounce bar. This is a 10-ounce bar. You can obviously see the difference and feel the difference with your eyes and your hands. It's very obvious this is a heavier item. And I hate to be so simplistic, and I know it's just super common sense, but sometimes you don't really recognize how big of a difference it is unless you actually see it with your own eyes. Same thing with the gold. This is 10 ounces of gold. Obviously, it took a lot more labor to make this bar. There was obviously a lot more that went into it. They had to refine it. They had to make it into 10 ounces of gold. And when you feel 10 ounces of gold, this is a substantial weight here. You know that you have more of this item. Then if you had a 1-ounce bar, you could tell the difference. You're like, okay, that's 1 ounce. This is 10 ounces. Obviously, this is more money. You can tell the difference on the commodities because this money was back to a commodity and these are the real commodities. You can tell when there's more or less. Same thing with the platinum. This is 10 ounces of platinum. This is 1 ounce of platinum. And why am I doing this? I will get into it. So that's the main point. Obviously, you can tell that there's a difference there. Now, to the fiat currency, I have one of every denomination, and there's a reason for that. So here's a $100 bill. Here's a $50 bill. Here's a $20 bill, $10 bill, $5 bill, $1 bill. One of every denomination. Now, if I close my eyes and someone put this note in my hand, I wouldn't be able to tell you which one it was. I wouldn't know if it's a $1 bill. I wouldn't know if it was a $100 bill. I would have no idea what this note was if I closed my eyes. Whereas if I close my eyes and somebody puts that, I'd go, that's a substantial amount more than if I put that in my hand. It's very obvious what's more there. But with fiat currency, there is nothing to back it. We are trusting that the government will pay this debt. These are notes of debt. And basically what fiat currency means is this is money because we said so. If you strip the ink of these notes, you would know no difference. They would all be a gram of cotton. This one has a fancy plastic strip on it because it's a $100 bill. But other than that, there is no difference in labor to these notes here. There's no difference in labor because if you printed $1, it took a good amount of ink and it took a gram of cotton, and you printed these on special cotton paper, and that's what it cost. But was the difference that substantial to be 100 to 1 in the cost of producing this? There isn't really a big difference on that. I would imagine that it costs fractions of a penny to create both. Obviously not 100 to 1 difference in the cost of the labor to create said items, which means it's fiat currency. So, what is the overall sentiment of this? In today's time, we're seeing Powell print a lot of money at the Fed. The Fed is printing trillions of dollars to the tune of over $1 trillion per month that we've been in this pandemic, which made me get passionate about creating this channel because I wanted to spread information and knowledge about the currency systems. Because we are about to experience some big changes to the way that currency operates. But why did we go to this instead of this? This was so nice because you knew that there was an actual asset there, and it put the government a bit in check because you couldn't just print a bunch of these because you would have to prove that you had a bunch of these. If you printed X amount of these, you had to have Y amount of these. It was so simplistic. And that was our commodity-backed system, and that is why the dollar was always considered the gold standard of currency worldwide. We still are the worldwide currency, even under our fiat currency structure. But the difference is now, whenever there is more money needed, the government can just print said money. They can pass the laws, they can print the money. It's a very interesting system, fiat currency, that was created in 1971 until today. And in that time period, from 1970 until now, gold was far less than $100 an ounce, and now gold is over $1,800 an ounce. So the value of the paper dropped to the tune of 98% in its buying power because there was quite a bit of it printed. There's quite a bit of it diluting the system. If you know the stock market, you know about companies that can announce a secondary. When you announce a secondary, you're diluting your stock by putting more into the market. Our system has been diluting the paper for a very long time. The more they print, the more these dollars are diluted to their value, which is that they are actually debt that is money because the government says so. You can't print this. You can't print a gold bar. You can't print a silver bar. So the reason that we used to use this is because it's something that held everyone in check. It held all the governments worldwide in check so that they couldn't just print money and dilute what our dollars are. If you held, I'll leave the video on this note because I don't want to get too far into tangents. You got to remember with these videos, you'll notice I don't do any editing. If I do, it's very, very minimal because I want it to be genuine. I don't want to have a bunch of cuts in my video to make everything be a perfectionist about it. I just want to do one video and get the point across. So if I go off on tangents, if just bear with me, point being. And if you like this video, please hit a thumbs up on there. Just smash the thumbs up button. If you're a little bit mad about the current structure, take it out on that thumbs up button, you know? It's just sitting there looking all gray, you know? You want to make it blue and smash that thing. And then more people can see this content and we can get this message out. And that's the overall meaning for the overall reason for all of this. And if it does provide value, if you can click that red subscribe button and then click the bell afterwards, you'll get notified of all the future videos. I don't want to put content out there that's not worthwhile. Nothing will be clickbait on this channel. If you watch a video here, it is going to be exactly what it says in the title, and I hope to keep you as a subscriber, and I hope that you see the value in this channel. So the last thing I want to say about this whole system here is what happens to the people that are holding cash. Because right now in the news, you're hearing about there being a lack of coins. You're hearing about a lack of coins in the system. The next will probably be the lack of paper. Americans are hoarding and saving this money, or so we're being told. If you had $3,000 in 1968, and you were going to buy a brand new 1968 Camaro, 4-speed, you got it all fully loaded, cost somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000 for that car. And that car was very similar to like a Porsche today. That was a very, very nice car that was highly desired in 1968. So you had $3,000 worth of gold and you had $3,000 worth of paper. You go to that car dealer and you go, you know what? I don't really need the gold. I'll pay you in the gold. I'll keep the paper. So here's the gold. I want the car. Thank you. You take the car, you keep the paper, you throw the paper in a safety deposit box. You go to the safety deposit box, you take the paper out, and it's 2020 now. It's 50 years later, 52 years later, and you go to the car dealership and go, you know what, this used to buy me a Camaro back in 1968. I got $3,000. I'm heading to the Porsche dealership because I think that that's about the same equivalent to what a Camaro was back then in today's modern world. You go to buy a Porsche. The Porsche guy goes, what's that? 3,000? You're not even going to get anywhere near a Porsche. What are you going? What's going on? You're not going to get this car. I'm sorry. So sorry about that. Maybe you can go get a used Corolla. The point is, the dollar lost 98% of its value in that time period. Houses that used to cost $10,000 are now hundreds of thousands of dollars. That gold, if you had done the vice versa when you're at that dealership in 1968 and you said, hey, here's the paper, you know, I'll pay for that Camaro. Not only would you have a Camaro that appreciate to be a collector's item, those cars go for quite a bit of money now, but that gold would have appreciated over 20x to being worth somewhere between $50,000 and $60,000 today. It was a better idea to keep the gold. So what's the overall meaning to all this? I wanted to spread awareness to the system that we're in, what fiat currency is, and what commodity-backed currency used to be. Personally, I think that money should be hard to get. If you've watched my videos on this channel, you know what my message is. It's just that money should be hard to get. If you're going to call something money, there should be some physical labor to that. If this was money, you knew that somebody really worked hard to create this that backed this. And with that being said, I will end the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you've forgotten to smash that like button, just hit it already. It's just sitting there all gray. Just smash it and hit it blue already. And if you haven't clicked that subscribe button, click that as well. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate you being here. And I put a lot of time into these videos, but I hope that the message helps. I'm nearly at 200 subscribers on a side note. I know that to a lot of people, 200 subscribers isn't a lot, but to me, it means the world because I know that 200 people are going to see this message and learn more about this. Thank you so much for watching. Signing out.